We're all on the same exact journey in life, and that is one of self-discovery. Never stop asking the questions. Always question everything. And then make choices based off of what's really important to you. Because if you're not happy and healthy, there's not a whole lot of good you can do to the world.
And what I want to share with you is the most actionable stuff to make sure that you leave today and really move forward with taking your life to that next level.
Imagine what could happen in your life if you ignored your weaknesses and you built on your strengths. That's a powerful tool that we can think about.
Feel the fear, don't try and not have it because it'll always be there, but you do it anyway.
I'm going to be talking to you about how to market anything and not feel weird about it.
Leadership is your ability to know who you truly are, so you can break down all the barriers and pursue a life that you want, and don't stop until you get the result.
What it's really about is living intentionally. And life becomes, I wouldn't say any more predictable, it's certainly more fun and rewarding when you live intentionally though.
And ultimately what you end up discovering, it's about becoming somebody you've never been before. It's about becoming who you were truly born to be.
Everybody give Dan Holloway a big round of applause. Come on up, everybody.
Good afternoon. Is my mic on?
Mic 3, there we go.
Is that working? That's better.
There you go.
You can hear me. So look, I'm not going to do any backflips. I just want to throw that out there from the word go. But I want to talk today about some of the things that I've done in these early stages to kind of get to L1, right? Because a lot of the time with people like the Lifestyle team, obviously massively inspiring, but how many people here have been here in SFM less than 12 months? Right, quite a lot. Quite tricky to relate to 2.1 million worth of revenue, right? It seems like quite a gap from where we are at the moment. So what I want to do is just try and sort of help people see the path to getting there from being someone who's taken the first steps, right, on that journey. So name's Dan Holloway, been in a background of corporate software sales before SFM, and essentially I reached a point in my career where I was realizing that I was earning really good money, but I wasn't really fulfilled. Right? I was, doing the typical sort of sales stuff like incentives and traveling, and you get holiday time and all that kind of thing. But the money wasn't really bringing any sense of fulfillment. And I suddenly realized that any income goal that I'd had in the past, whether like 30K or 50K or 100K or whatever, as soon as I'd hit that or got near that, nothing would really change. And I suddenly thought, like, if nothing's ever changed in the past, why did I think that any bigger income goal in the future was going to bring me any fulfillment or happiness? And that was when I realized that I had to change. I had to change direction. So it's weird how things kind of appear at the time that you're ready to hear them, because when I reached this point, a video popped up on YouTube from a certain team of people who might have just been on stage here right now. And I watched it, and I wouldn't normally watch that kind of video, and I think a lot of people will probably say the same thing, but there's just something about the Lifestyle team that really grabs you and makes you almost like see something else is possible, understand that there's more out there. So anyway, watched the video, joined SFM, very, very quickly realized this was the path that I wanted to go down. Went black within just under a month of getting started. Again, it's the same sort of thing. It's like the Lifestyle team had just said, if you're going to do something, if you're going to commit to doing it, you have to commit to doing it. Because unless you're committed, unless you're all in, unless you put yourself in a position where there is no choice but to succeed, then you're always holding on to that idea of failure, right? So that was really my journey into the SFM. That's how I got started. And what I'm going to launch into now is a couple of concepts. and then a couple of strategies, and also one thing to kind of wrap it all together that you can literally take, put into action, and hopefully over the next few months for anyone that's brand new, really start to get some traction quite quickly. And by the way, you're going to notice as well that a lot of this stuff is very similar to what Stuart's talked about and the lifestyle team's talked about. And there's a reason for that. It's because it's bloody important, These are the things that it takes to get success. So this is really just my spin on the same kind of stuff, just coming at it from a different perspective. But again, we're all talking about it because it is so damn crucial to get this stuff right, to give yourself that foundation to be able to move forwards. So first thing I want to touch on is the self-image, right? So the self-image it's essentially the mental construct that we create in our minds, right? From an evolutionary perspective, it's designed to keep us alive. So when I say self-image, if you've read any books like Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth, or The Power of Now, which are awesome, by the way, read them if you haven't. But they're touching on things like the egoic state of mind. And what it essentially is the little voice in your head, right, and what that dictates who we think we are. And who we think we are is obviously going to be very different to how other people see us or what we're actually capable of. We're going to limit ourselves through our self-image. And the reason that this happens is and this quick science lesson, but it's very important. The reason that this happens is from an evolutionary perspective. Imagine I was living, 30,000 years ago, right? And I decided to challenge the alpha male in my tribe of 50 Homo sapiens, humans. And off the back of that, let's say I get beaten, I get put in my place. Now, if I then think of challenging the alpha male again, my self-image, the little voice in my head, is going to say, whoa, 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 what do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are? That's not your place. You don't want to do that. You're going to get yourself hurt. And I'm going to feel fear. I'm going to feel anxiety. And it's designed to paralyze me in place because that's going to protect me. That's going to essentially mean that I can survive and therefore pass on, my genetic code, whatever. But it's designed to keep us safe. So from an evolutionary perspective, having this biological little voice in our head, it makes sense. It's going to keep us alive. But in today's society that we live in, it's not so important because we don't have the same sort of pressures that we would have had back then, the same sort of things that we need to survive. And so when you look at today's society, the main way that we rank ourselves in society today, generally speaking, is going to be something like money. Right? How many of us use our income to compare ourselves to other people? Naturally, And so this little voice in our head, right, that runs off of this, this programming that's designed to keep us alive, when money comes into the equation, this is where the problem comes in. Because if we start trying to think about, let's say, going from 50K a year to 250K a year, that's pushing us way, 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 way outside of our comfort zones. And our self-image, the little voice in our head, is going to start to freak out, right? It's the unknown. And biologically, that's designed to keep us safe, keep us in our box, in our comfort zones. But naturally, when we're starting SFM and we want to start taking those actions to earn, the higher level of income, this is going to hold us in place. So it's important to understand that this is happening in the background, because once you know that, you can then start to either circumvent it or do things to kind of get around it, right? So you can't outperform the self-image for any length of time. Again, I don't think we've got time to go into sort of the whole willpower versus self-belief thing, but essentially it's kind of like an elastic band where you can stretch it temporarily with willpower, but you're always going to snap back to who you think you are in your head. You're always going to be who you think you are in there, who you are out here is going to be who you are in there all the time. You're always going to bounce back to that. So essentially, the only way to make any real change externally is to first change what you believe you can do internally in your head. Okay? And so therefore, one of the main things that you're going to need is a way to overcome fear. And I think pretty much everyone, sorry, I've just noticed JJ getting a massage at the back of the room. That just put me off for a minute. Oh, don't worry, I'm still going. I just thought I'd draw attention to that because it made me laugh. But pretty much everyone up until this point, I think, has talked about overcoming fear. And again, when you start this journey, as everyone in this room is going to know, fear is going to be one of the main things that you're going to come up against. So there's a little thing that I would say to myself. Who knows where I'm going with this, by the way? I know you guys do. Yeah. There's a little phrase that I'd always say to myself whenever I'd be in a situation where I'd start feeling fear. And that is, what would I do if I were 10 times bolder? Right? What would I do if I was 10 times bolder? And when I ask myself this question in any situation, whatever the answer is, that's what I've got to do. Because what it means is, when I ask myself this question, it tells me that the only thing that's holding me back is fear. And if the only thing that's holding me back is fear, that's the thing that I need to go through to get to where I want to get to. Because, remember, self-image, right? We're going to feel the most fear around things that would push us furthest outside of our comfort zone. And so the fact that fear is present, that's like a big neon sign saying, hey, this is the thing that's going to get you to where you want to get to. It's like, our brain's way of saying, if you want to get to 250k a year, I'm just going to flag up with fear what you need to do to get there. And most of us will run from that, won't we? We feel the fear, and it's like, oh, this is really uncomfortable, I don't want to go there. But what that really means is the fact there's fear there, that's exactly where we need to go. And it's literally like a roadmap that we can follow. Just follow the fear, and you're going to achieve your goals like 10 times faster than if you don't, if you try and hide from it. Because you can't circumvent success. You've got to go through those stages to get there. So the quicker we can overcome those fears, the quicker we can step forwards and get there. Right? So what I would do then, as soon as I've established what would I do if I was 10 times bolder, I'll just say to myself, just do it, 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 just do it in my head again and again and again and again until I piss myself off so much. I think, sod it, right, I'll just do it. Just get it done, just get it out of the way. Because the way that I see it is we got a choice. We can either take like 3 weeks worth of procrastinating on something until we finally pluck up the courage to do it, or we could just decide right now, in this moment, just get it done, just face it, just take it head on and just go for it. And then tomorrow, I can face the next fear and the next fear and the next fear and so on. And that's how you make progress quickly. Each time you overcome that fear, your comfort zone expands, and then from there, you can push yourself to the next level quite quickly. Now, when you're facing fear, there's a concept that is absolutely crucial, and that's this idea called compounding. I'm going to touch on it. I talked about this at London Momentum Day. I'm going to whiz past it quite quickly, but essentially consistency is absolutely key in this business and life. You know, if you went to the dentist for twice a year, but that was all you did to maintain your teeth are going to fall out pretty damn quickly, right? It's the consistency of brushing your teeth every single day. It's the consistency of going to the gym for 20 minutes, 5 times a week, or 30 minutes 5 times a week, or whatever. If you went to the gym, once a month for 12 hours in one day, you're going to die. That's not going to work, right? And consistency is key. Now, when you consistently take action on something, and don't worry what the numbers on this graph mean, I literally just want to demonstrate an idea here, like a scale. But if you work on your SFM business, for example, for 5 days a week at 2 hours a night, whatever. I'm not saying you need to do X amount of time to get success. I'm making a point that the consistency of the success is key. Whatever you can set aside on the business, you need to maintain that to achieve a result. If you work on your business in this scale for 5 days per week, that's what it looks like on a graph, right? But if you work on your business, if you miss just one day, one single day per week, every day for a year, that's what it looks like on the graph. So the end result is about 1/3 of what it would be if you didn't miss that day. And here's why. Gerard, if you, where are you? You're at the back there, bud. If you didn't work out for like 2 weeks while you're on holiday, and then you come back and you start hitting the gym, how long would it take you, do you reckon, to get back to the form that you were before you skipped those 2 weeks worth of workouts? Probably 2 weeks, right? Exactly. And that's the key, because what we forget is when we miss a day, if I do a workout, I progress. If I do a workout, I progress. If I miss a day, we think we just stay still, but actually, we lose the result that we would have got if we took action. Then the next day, I go back to where I was in the first place. Then the next day, that's the third day, I get to where I would have been if I didn't skip that day in the first place. Right? So this is why it has such a huge, huge impact just skipping one day. And you know what? If you skip 2 days, so you work only 3 days per week, literally no impact at all. So consistency is absolutely key. So I'm not going to, so because of time, I'm going to skip past this one here. But what I wanted to point out is that number one skill to learn is the skill of learning skills. It's kind of like, the analogy I use is it's like getting a wish and then using that to wish for more wishes. Because if you can practice learning skills, then it means each new thing you come up against is not going to hold you back or take any time to learn. And then finally, so the last thing that I wanted to go through, I can see you lurking there. And the last thing I wanted to go through is this idea of the one thing. Has anyone read The One Thing by Gary Keller? Yeah, awesome. Recommend it? Good book. So the idea is that if you have a goal, so figure out the one thing, the one goal that you want to achieve that's going to push you furthest forwards, if you can then work out those steps backwards from that goal, right, to where you are now, the steps are the key. Because what happens is we get sort of confused and distracted by everything else that we could be doing, right? So the green dots are the steps that we need to take to achieve our goal. The red dots are everything else that we could possibly be doing that's going to distract us. And what we need to do is have that clarity about what we want to achieve. We have to have the clear plan, like Stuart said, of how we're going to, what steps we need to take to get there. And what that means is every decision that we make, I won't go through that bit, but every decision that we make, we can very, very clearly tell if it's driving us in the direction of the goal that we want to achieve. All right, so just to summarize and wrap that up, the key strategy is if you're writing out your goals, so whatever it is that you want to achieve in business, for example, apply the one thing concept. So what one thing can you do right now in this moment that is going to help you take that step, overcome that fear, and work towards your goal? And then create a detailed plan of what you need to do to get there. So that's all the little steps. And then there's a concept called macro and micro, which essentially means, in really simple terms, it means look at the big picture, that's the macro, so you look at the goal, you look at all the steps that you need to take to get there, and then the micro is what stops overwhelm. The micro is when you zoom in on literally the one thing that you have to do right now in this moment to help you move forwards, right? So nothing else matters. There's no, you don't need to look at all the millions and millions and millions of things you might have to do after that. Just don't worry about that for now. Just focus on the one thing that you can do in this moment that's going to help you take that little next step forward. Once you've done that, you zoom out again, you look at the big picture, right? And then focus again on what next little step you can take to move forwards. Zoom out again, zoom in again, zoom out, zoom in. And that's going to keep you moving forwards. And what will happen is you reach a point where eventually you look back at everything you've achieved and suddenly it's like, how the hell did I get that far in that amount of time? And an example of this, just as we wrap up, is I was terrified of coming out on webinars, right? When I first started SFM, raise your hand on a webinar. So I don't want to raise hand, people see my face, So I was terrified of that. And now this is happening. But it's literally only through this concept. It's just the compounding of little actions, to move forwards, to face your fears, to overcome your fears. And bit by bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, you suddenly reach a point where you're like, Jesus Christ, I didn't even realize that's happened, but the progress can be ridiculously fast if you choose to overcome those fears. All right, so off the back of that, take fear and take action now, consistent daily action, and the awareness to bounce between the big picture and the small picture. Also, final points, improve your awareness, meditation. It is important, like Stuart said as well. Strengthen your self-image, and essentially, if you can maintain a healthy body as well, that's also going to help you to bring this all together. So, final thing I want to say as we wrap up here is that a lot of the time, especially when you're starting, I know this from experience, we can look at the guys like Stuart and Justin and JJ and the lifestyle team, and it's quite easy to kind of put them on a pedestal. You know, we think we could never be those people. These guys are like, you know, incredible and amazing, and it's tricky to relate to them. But everybody has the same sorts of, you know, battles that they're dealing with, the same sort of limitations, the same fears going on in their head. We're all the same. We're all human. So we can't put everyone else that's achieved the result that we want on a pedestal, because the only difference between them and us is time. That's it. It's nothing more. Thank you.
Can you see why we're proud of all of this stuff? You know what he is? He's hungry, isn't he? How many books you mentioned? 4 or 5 books? Did you read that? Did you have that kind of reading before you started?
No, I've read, so in the last 6 months, I've read about 24, 25 books, most on Audible. Use Audible. If you don't use Audible, get on Audible, for God's sake. So easy to blitz a book in no time.
Now, the leadership program that Justin, I don't know if he's going to touch on it or not, but you know, L1, L2, L3, L1, 10 active members, right? 10,000 in commissions and 10 active members. L2, 25, 50, 100 accordingly. But the idea of this is have L2s working with L1s, L1s working with the folks who are just having, what's it going to take to break through? You know, kind of see how that works. We all help each other. And so just know that you're going to be hearing more from him. But at the same time, L2s and L3s are going to be reaching down and what can we do to help pull him up? See the idea of how the team, how we get to work together? It's all of us. It's not Jay, it's not Stuart, it's not me, it's not Justin. It's all of us together. And but you got to come hungry. You got to come willing to learn. So with that said, Dan, one more round of applause, Dan Holloway. Everybody.